Actually, all the karmas are supposed to lead you to Naishkarmya. That is the truth he is mentioning here. Ishtapurtam manyamana varishtam nanyachreyo vedayante pramudha. In the Karmakanda, they are giving a lot of weight for Ishta and Purta. Na anyad shreyaha. There is nothing superior or greater, they argue. Vedayante pramudha. Pramudha means fools, idiotic people. I would like to say they are ornamented idiots. Those ornamented people, ornamented idiots, they are not able to understand anything still superior. All these jumbo rituals alone strike their mind, imagination and attention. Actually, what is the truth? Nagasya prishte te sugrde anubhutva. Even if they were to enjoy the result of all these rituals in the heavenly regions, what will happen? They have performed for a number of days or maybe a few weeks an elaborate ritual. So in the whole life of 80 years, how much time have you used for performing a ritual? Maybe a month or two. With the 2 months act, can you get a 2000 years life there? No. Every result achieved by an act will be proportionate to the act itself. So, nagasya prishte te sugrde anubhutva. Maybe they will go to the heaven and they will live there for a short time, for a very short time. And after enjoying the rewards, imam logam hinataram vavishanti. Either they will fall to this human world or still worse worlds. You know, when I read all these things in the Mundaka Upanishad, I felt, what shall I say? Baffled on the one hand, but enlightened. Oh, this is the truth of all the rituals. You know, in my young days, I was also given to rituals. Ever since I got my sacred thread, I was given to a lot of disciplines. Most of them are religious. And we are all brought up in the religious tradition, believing in heaven, hell, etc., etc., etc. Everything is all right, provided you are prepared to process yourself through a path of discrimination everywhere. Then there is no problem. Why did I mention all these things? Only to make you understand that we are always to be governed by the Shastras and we must listen to all that the Shastras say. We cannot be selective, saying that these propositions I like and these propositions I dislike. Don't say that. Read the Samhita portion, the Brahmana portion, the Aranyaka and the Upanishadic portion, and then arrive at a decision as to what is the best, wherein lies my salvation, redemption, fullness and crowning glory. This you should decide. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante. The fact remains that Vedas are indispensable. And the message of the Vedas is actually Naishkarmya, as Srimad Bhagavata declares it. Let us go further. Vedoktameva kurvano nissangorpidamishvare naishkarmyam labhate siddhim rojanartha phalashrutihi. Avirhotra makes it amply clear. Vedoktameva kurvano nissangorpidamishvare naishkarmyam labhate siddhim rojanartha phalashrutihi. When I say this, I don't know what kind of a reaction or response you have. The Vedas are considered to be very sacred, holy, very sanctifying, and they have a ritualistic portion which is itself condemned and decried and devalued in the Upanishadic portion. So, can it not be that the Upanishadic portion alone is there and the others can be avoided? No, it cannot be. Most of the people have a desireful mind. As long as desires are dominant in the mind, they will look for a gratification. Unless the Vedas come out with a measure or means whereby their desires can be satisfied, they will not regard at all. So, in order to wedge the gap between these people and the Vedas, they are coming out with these declarations. But even in spite of it, Avirhotra says, Vedoktameva kurvano nissango arpidamishvare. Maybe these rituals, hymns, praises, all of them. Let the Vedas be chanted, let the Vedic karmas be performed. While performing all these things, one should foster detachment, nissanga. The delusional clinging to things should be avoided. Arpidamishware. And the whole performance, the whole study, the whole pursuit, maybe of hymns, prayers, rituals, ceremonies, all these, it should be as an offer and a dedication to the Supreme Lord. Once you have this dedicated spirit, dedicational spirit, the offering spirit, all the other things will be overwhelmed. Everything will be wiped off. And by performing these rituals, the mind will become purified. Vedoktameva karma kurvano nissango arpidamishware naishkarmyam labhate siddhim. Naishkarmyam labhate siddhim. It is true that every ritual has got its own declared reward. The rewards are invariably after your body falls. So the rewards have nothing to do with the present world. Nevertheless, you are enamored by it and you start performing the rituals. So it is actually not the rewards that the Vedas have to give you, but the spirit of dedication and purity that will come out of the performance. When that is true, naishkarmyam labhate siddhim. Their idea is to treat and lead your mind to a state of naishkarmya. Rojanartha phalastutihi. Only to motivate you, persuade you, compel you and hoodwink you. This phalastuti pronounced, that flowery speeches with regard to results and attainments are presented before you. See, these are all wonderful statements of Srimad Bhagavatam, Upanishadic statements. Vedoktameva karmano nissango arpidamishware naishkarmyam labhate siddhim rojanartha phalastutihi. Here we understand very clearly that even Vedic life of rituals, they are meant to attain naishkarmya. Let the ritualists know it very clearly. The purpose is not to lift you up from here and yoke you in heaven or Brahmaloka or Prajapati Loka. It is only to treat your desires and make the mind dispassionate and ultimately bestow upon it the art and process of discrimination, viveka, and finally lead you to the inner spiritual splendor, the wisdom, spiritual wisdom, and through that lodge you in the naishkarmya state. The entire phalasthuti means what? The rewards and results pronounced, they are rojana artha, only to make you interested in the performance. Desire and greed alone are hindering our process. Perform these rituals, but with no desire, as an offering to the Supreme Lord. So the right course, I would say, is to perform the rituals if you are given to it, but perform it in a manner of dedication and not otherwise. It should be as a dedication to the Supreme Lord. Sri Krishna says very clearly, Na karmanam anarambhad naishkarmyam purushosnude na ja sanyasana deva siddhim samadhigacchadi. This is actually from Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, verse number 4. Na karmanam anarambhad naishkarmyam purushosnude. By refraining from any action, refusing to take up any kind of an actional involvement, one is not going to reach naishkarmya. So if naishkarmya is to be attained, it has to be through the course of action. Because we are taking food. The food is converted into energy. The energy can be expended only in the form of activity and interaction. This being the case, if somebody eats stomach full and says, I will not act, what will be the great conflict and disharmony, can you imagine? So to say that I will not take up any activity will not serve the purpose at all. You have to process yourself through activity. At the same time, the mind has to be purified by the activity. All the desires should fall. Your intelligence should become very bright and very brilliant, very illumined. Then the inner self will be comprehended, you will understand the futility of everything else. Similarly, nacha sanyasanadeva siddhim samadhi. One is karmanam anarambhad. By not beginning any kind of an activity, anarambha of karmas. Another is sanyasana of karmas. Whatever you are performing now, simply leave it. That also will not give you any attainment at all. So, if you have to win some attainment siddhi, it has to be in and through activities. And all the activities should be aimed at only one aim, as a dedication and an offering to the Supreme Lord, and they will purify your mind beautifully and well. Let us go to the next verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, 47. Ya ashu hridaya grindhim nirjihirshuhu paratmanaha vidhino bajare devam tantrokteja cha keshavam. We are entering into a very, very important, very popular phase. I don't know whether you have thought about these matters so very well. Generally in Kerala, where I am speaking in Mukti Sudhagaram, all my listeners and viewers are very much interested to listen to everything that Srimad Bhagavata says. Whether my English viewers are similarly fired and inspired is a matter that I don't know. My dear viewers, you will have to correspond with me. Let me know how you are receiving this message. Whether this inner spiritual splendor is giving you a prop. Does it give you the necessary enlightenment? How far you like it? On the one hand are the Sanskrit verses which are recited by me with regard to a lot of stress on pronunciation of words properly. I cannot give more time to the music of the poetic verses. So I am reading it somewhat as a poetry, that's all. It's a little fast rendering. How you like it? And what about the message conveyed, which I explain in English? So these 2 points I want you to let me know. Ya shuhridaya grindhim nirjihirshuhu paratmanaha. There are some very beautiful concepts. One concept presented in this verse is hridaya grindhi. Grindhi means a knot, K-N-O-T, knot. Hridaya grindhi means a knot in your heart. It is not the biological heart. The heart is the center of consciousness in you. In that center, there is a knot. How is that knot? Imagine a long twine. I take one end of the twine, make a circle and pass the end through the circle and pull it. Then you will find a knot. Our Hridaya Grandhi is something like that. There is no extra or secondary material there. The consciousness itself has formed into a tuft. This tuft is called the ego. What is this ego? The feeling of I. Actually, is there anything called the I? No, it's only a feeling. It is the first person, singular form, I. Now, I say I, but when you start referring to me, you will speak of me as you. A third person will speak of me as the other. So what is I to me, you to you, the other to the other? All these are the same. Are there three like that? No. So the I is actually a referral point. But there is a substance denoted by the term I when you go into it, like that I slept. Who is that person who slept? If you think and inquire, you will reach the self. So this Hridaya Grandhi is actually a Grandhi, a knot. Substance-wise, it is the same as the twine. But when you pass your fingertips, you will find a resistance, a kind of a sharpness there, obstruction. That kind of an obstruction you have. This obstruction, when it is let loose, broken. Ya ashu hridaya grandhim nirjihirshuhu paratmanaha. This Paramatma himself has caused this knot. Vidhino bajare devam tantroktena cha keshavam. According to the prescribed, the scripturally prescribed methods, you have to worship the Supreme Lord. Ultimately, the Supreme Lord is no other than your own self. Tandroktena cha Keshavam. Start worshipping Lord Keshava according to the prescriptions laid down by the Tantra Shastra. Tantra Shastra deals with primarily worship. We have got a worship tradition ranging back to Krita Yuga. How God was worshipped in Krita Yuga, then Treta Yuga, then Dwapara Yuga, and now in Kali Yuga. All these are mentioned in the scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam. Ya Shukhraya Grandhim Nirjihir Shufparatmanah Vidhinopachare Devam Tandroktena cha Keshavam. The purpose of our worship should be very clear, very clear. You have to be. The purpose of the worship should be to overcome the ego knot. Whatever worship you do, understand it very clearly. It is aimed at untying the knot of your heart. Not to get hold of a great world after death. Do all the worship, all the puja, all the aradhana, all the practices and disciplines and vows, anything. But the purpose should be to remove the Hridaya Grandhi. Take to the ceremonial worship of Lord Keshava. There is a special method of worshipping Lord Keshava. The Hridaya Grandhi, understand, it is the triple called I, you and the other. For me it is the I, for you, as I said, it is you. When you refer to me, you will say you, Swamiji. A third person will refer to the other person, Swamiji. And all the three are the same. See, when a boy becomes grown up and he gets married, initially he was the son. When he got married, he becomes the husband. When he got a child, he became a parent. When his children got children, then also he becomes a grandparent. You tell me, are there four entities in that person? Like son, husband, parent and grandparent? No. In the same manner, there are no three things in me like I, you and the other. These are all referral points. But we don't understand it clearly. We think that I is an ahankara. It is a positive entity and we get deluded by it. It's only to facilitate our references to, our referring to our experiences, action, etc. About this Hridaya Grandhi, very clearly Mundaka Upanishad gives a beautiful statement. What is this self-realization? What is this self-knowledge? When does a man become self-realized? And what is the result? How he becomes a Jivan Mukta, etc. I would like all of you to understand. This is the great lore that we have. So using this as a necessary occasion, I thought I will speak about all these wonderful statements in our scriptures so that the viewers will have something to bang upon. I want to expose you to the great treasure and the inestimable worth of this knowledge treasure that we have. Vidyade Hridaya Grandhi Chidyante Sarva Samshaya Kshiyante Chasya Karmani Tasmin Drishte Paravare. When the supreme truth, Tasmin, the supreme truth, Drishte, is perceived, comprehended and realized, Paravare, in the high and in the low, in the gross as well as in the subtle, in the mighty as well as in the minute, the presence of the supreme reality is clearly perceived and known. What are the benefits? Vidyate Hridaya Grandhi. The knot called ego is completely broken, untied. Chidyante Sarva Samshaya. All the doubts are completely dispelled. Kshiyante Chasya Karmani. You will never any time speak about Prarabdha Karma, Sanchita Karma and Agami Karma. The past karma, the present karma and the future karma, you will never speak about at all. All these are concepts, ideas in your mind. The ideas are disposed of. When the truth dawns in you, there is no place for all these things. You are not the body. You are the consciousness that animates and activates the body. That consciousness is subtler than even space. Can anything act upon or affect space? No, certainly not. See, the entire world consists of 5 elements. Out of the 5 elements you will find solid existence is there, earth, fluid is water, gaseous is air, and then we have different forms of energy represented by fire, as I always say. Now there is a 4th element called space. When it comes to space, you will find it is absolutely unaffected and unconditioned by the interplay of the other 4. Even if there is a nuclear explosion, earth will be affected, water will be affected, air will be affected, different forms of energy will also have to be interplayed there. But you will find nothing can touch space at all. Now what about the consciousness that animates and activates the body? It is far subtler and it goes beyond the ken of matter and energy. How can the consciousness be affected by anything? Any kind of your bodily activities? What are the activities? The mechanical activities of the action organs, the sensory activities of the organs of knowledge, then articulation, mentation, intellection and ego assertion. By none of these activities can the soul be affected. So where is the question of any karma at all? So in knowing the supreme truth, kshiyante chasya karmani, all karmas are completely attenuated. There will be nothing left. Tasmin drishte paravari. This is what Mundaka Upanishad speaks about Hridaya Granthi. Granthi is put in a singular form. There is only one knot, the ego. Along with that, dispelling doubts and completely exterminating all karmas, all the 3 together take place. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in a different manner, Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyaditarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrodavyasya sudasya ja. What is this enlightenment? This is in the 2nd chapter, verse number 52 of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna tells Arjuna, Yada te mohakalilam buddhir vyaditarishyati. Yada te buddhihi mohakalilam vyaditarishyati. When your mind transcends really all kinds of delusion which you are suffering from, you mentioned about hell, you mentioned about heaven, you mentioned about Papa, so many things you spoke about. All these are products of delusion, ignorance. When your buddhi goes beyond this quagmire of delusion, then you will find tada gantasi nirvedam shrodavyasya srudasya ja. Whatever you have heard and whatever you are yet going to hear, you will become totally indifferent to it. No statement from anywhere, including the Shastras, will be able to affect you adversely at any time, provided you are able to overcome the quagmire of delusion. So very clearly, these are references to that wonderful enlightened state, that Hridaya Granthi removal. Let us continue the discussion. We are going to 48th verse. Labdhanugraha acharyad tena sandarshita gamaha mahapurushamabhyarchet murtya abhimatayatmanaha. What is that procedural way by virtue of which I can purify my mind and attain to the supreme truth of Naishkarmya, was the enquiry of King Nimi. So he answers, this is the procedure. What is the procedure? What is worship? What is Aradhana? In the devotional manner, very clearly explained by Srimad Bhagavatam. I would like all of you to understand it so that you will first of all have an idea of what it is, and you can explain it to the children, neighbors, friends and the well-wishers. Be a representative of Hinduism, Hindu Dharma, the great Dharma, whose legacy you carry in your veins as well as thoughts. Labdhanugraha acharyad. You must first of all go to a preceptor, prostrate before him and get his blessings. Tena sandarshita agamaha. He must be able to explain to you. Agama means the Vedas. Sandarshita agamaha. What exactly is the procedure of worship as envisaged by, as prescribed and detailed by the Vedas? Mahapurusham abhyarched. You should worship Mahapurusham. Understand, the word used is Mahapurusham abhyarched. You should worship the Mahapurusha.